In the previous episode of My Maniac Mind, we walked into the woods of Montana and met a man who dressed as a hermit, but thought of himself as a philosopher. He lived in a cabin with no water, no phone, no TV, just a desk, a typewriter, and a growing pile of bomb parts. This time, we don't just step into his cabin, we step into his mind. Because Ted Kaczynski isn't just a bomber. He's a textbook example of how childhood trauma, academic cruelty, and a twisted idea of freedom can turn a human brain into a weapon. We're not going to glorify him. We're going to ask one question. Could this have been stopped earlier? If you're new here on My Maniac Mind, stay with me. Every episode ends with something practical you can carry into real life. Today, the psychology of the Unabomber, and the warning signs your family might see in someone close to them. Ted Kaczynski was born in 1942 in Chicago to Polish Jewish immigrant parents. His father ran a small sausage plant. His mother stayed home. On paper, it looks like a quiet, working-class life. But in Ted's mind, the cracks opened very early. When he was just 6 months old, he was hospitalized with severe hives and locked in an isolation box for almost 8 months. His mother later said he never came back the same. He became withdrawn, shy, scared, and deeply sensitive. Yet at the same time, he was terrifyingly bright. By 16, he was accepted to Harvard University. Imagine a kid like that, brilliant, fragile, already cut off from normal touch, walking into a pressure cooker of elite students. He's surrounded by older, more confident peers. He feels exposed. He's mocked and bullied. The real break in his life comes from a psychological experiment. A researcher, Henry Murray, studied how people react to extreme stress. Students were asked to write candid essays about their beliefs, fears, and self-image. Then a lawyer would read them out loud and tear them apart. The student sat strapped into a chair while the lawyer screamed, "You're confused. You don't even know yourself." The whole thing was recorded, and sensors measured his stress. Ted later claimed these experiments didn't affect him. In private, he admitted this was the worst period of his life. 3 years of being dissected, ridiculed, and watched poured acid into his trust in institutions. Psychologists who later studied his case place this in what's called the diathesis stress model. A person with a vulnerable personality meets a harsh environment, and the system cracks. In Ted's case, the diathesis is his social sensitivity and tendency toward isolation. The stress is the humiliation inside a supposedly elite institution. He finishes his degree, then moves to the University of Michigan to study mathematics. By his late 20s, he has 2 terrifying desires: sex reassignment surgery and suicide. He tries to see a psychiatrist, but at the last moment backs out. Instead, he starts fantasizing about killing that very doctor. He realizes he's too cowardly to kill face to face, so he decides to kill from a distance. To kill without being seen. To kill as many people as possible before anyone can connect the attacks. Psychologically, this is a classic projection. The shame he feels about his own body and his failures is redirected outward, onto doctors, institutions, the system. He doesn't want to die. He wants the world to suffer with him. He earns his PhD at Michigan, then lands at the University of California, Berkeley. Colleagues describe him as polite but distant. He has no social life. He keeps his door closed. Mathematics suits him because he doesn't need to cooperate with anyone. After only a year and a half, He quits without explanation. He dreams of disappearing. He wants to live in the woods, far from cities, far from technology, far from people. In 1971, he buys a small plot in Lincoln County, Montana, and builds a flimsy cabin. Life there looks almost peaceful. He reads books, hunts squirrels, tends a vegetable garden, and bathes in rivers. But Ted's mind is not calm. He hates the sound of airplanes. He resents neighbors who ride bikes through his woods. He once takes a hatchet, breaks into a nearby cabin, smashes bicycles, and defecates in the bathroom to send a message. To the town of Lincoln, he's just Teddy, a shy, quiet loner they call the Hermit. Psychologists who analyzed his writings and interviews later see a mix of paranoid traits, schizoid style, and obsessive-compulsive tendencies. He was emotionally distant, socially withdrawn, yet intellectually rigid and meticulous. In modern terms, experts have described him as likely fitting something between schizoid personality disorder and paranoid schizophrenia, with traits from several clusters. The key point: he wasn't just angry. His whole way of thinking had become a closed loop. He reads Thoreau, Jacques Ellul, and stories about Robinson Crusoe. He romanticizes primitive life. He loathes cities. He hates machines. In the late 1970s, he writes a manifesto called Industrial Society and Its Future. Psychologically speaking, this manifesto is a delusional system, a rigid, all-explaining worldview that treats the entire modern world as an enemy. He argues that industrialization destroyed human freedom, that technology forced people into crowded cities, alienated them from nature, and turned them into cogs in a meaningless system. He claims humans have shifted from real tasks like hunting and farming to surrogate activities like art, sports, and science, and that, in his view, is a trap. Technology, he insists, will keep tightening its grip. One day, he warns, people will live in a world that feels comfortable but empty. A brave new world of distractions and artificial pleasures. The only solution, he says, is to destroy the technological system. Transportation, factories, communications, medicine, all of it has to be dismantled, even if it means mass death. This is the moment where the psychosis-like dimension of his thought takes over. His ideas are not just extreme, they are unshakable, immune to contradiction, and detached from empathy. He sees no trade-off. If people die in the process, to him, they're collateral in a war against the system. His first bomb comes in May 1978. He mails a package to a professor at Northwestern University in Illinois. The professor never opens it. A police officer does. The device explodes, cutting his face and his hands. The bomb is primitive, handmade, constructed mostly of wood. No fingerprints, no clear suspect, no motive. At first, police think it might be a lab accident or a prank gone wrong. It's only when a second bomb appears a year later that they realize this is a pattern. This time, a student at the same university opens the package and is injured. By November 1979, he escalates. He rigs a bomb inside a luggage container on a Boeing 727 carrying 78 people. The bomb misfires. It smokes, but it doesn't detonate. The pilots land in an emergency. Everyone survives, though 12 passengers are treated for smoke inhalation. In his journal, he laments that his bomb failed to kill anyone. Over the next decade, he sends bomb after bomb. He targets universities, computer shops, and executives tied to the tech world. In 1985, a man in Sacramento, California, opens one of his packages and dies instantly. The bomb is packed with bolts, nails, and metal fragments, designed to maim and kill anyone who touches it. By 1986, he's killed one person and injured several others. He's meticulous. He buys materials from hardware stores, uses different handwriting styles, and plants fake clues, even including strands of random hair he's found on the street, to send the FBI chasing the wrong suspect. Psychologically, this is obsessive-compulsive engagement with a theme. Every detail must be perfect because his ideology promises him control in an otherwise uncontrollable world. The FBI builds a profile: a white, educated, middle-class man, comfortable with wood and tools, likely anti-technology, probably living in a remote area. But that profile fits thousands of people. They follow hundreds of tips, dead ends, innocent engineers, odd professors. The real bomber sits in his cabin, watching the chaos from afar. In 1985, a man in Utah spots a medium-height figure with glasses and a beard, leaving a suspicious package outside a computer store. The recipient is injured, but survives. The sighting produces a crude sketch. Terrified, Ted goes underground. He stops sending bombs for 6 years. During that time, he drifts even further from his family, writing angry letters to his brother David, accusing David of abandoning a life of simplicity because he married and joined society. Psychologists who study this pattern note that this is typical in paranoid and schizoid personalities. As the person withdraws from the world, he intensifies his hostility toward the one person who still reaches out. He's not building a better world. He's tightening the walls of his own prison. In 1993, he resumes his campaign. He mails bombs to academics, a geneticist in California, a computer scientist at Yale. In 1994, he kills a woman in Sacramento who had worked to improve the image of a timber company after a major oil spill. She dies when a package explodes in her hands. The next year, he kills a former lobbyist for the logging industry in Sacramento. 3 confirmed deaths, many more injured. The FBI's Unabomber task force works around the clock, studying every fragment, every letter draft, every handwriting variation. They know the bomber is intelligent, patient, and deeply familiar with woodworking, but they still have no name. Then he makes a mistake. Ego overpowers caution. He contacts the press, writing that a group called the Freedom Club is waging a war against the industrial system. He mocks the FBI for failing to catch him, and he makes a shocking offer. He will stop sending bombs if his manifesto is published in a major newspaper. The FBI is stunned. They're being blackmailed by a serial bomber. At the same time, they realize the manifesto is a trap, but also a chance to expose him. After long debates, they agree in principle. The text can be printed if a newspaper is willing to take the risk. Newspapers hesitate. Publishing a terrorist's manifesto feels dangerous, even unethical. Some editors worry about copycats. Others worry about panic. A pornographic magazine even offers to publish it, showing how bizarre the situation has become. In the end, the Washington Post agrees. They negotiate terms with him. He sends them the manuscript under strict conditions. The editors cut it for length, but keep the core arguments. On September 19, 1995, Industrial Society and Its Future appears in print. The manifesto is long, not elegant. It jumps from topic to topic, borrowing ideas from thinkers like Ellul, but twisting them beyond recognition. He ignores that technology has saved millions of lives through medicine and sanitation. One of the first people to read it is David Kaczynski. He's Ted's younger brother, who's always admired his older sibling as a brilliant thinker, a man who rejected materialism. When he sees the text, something clicks. The argumentation, the rhythm of the sentences, it feels familiar. He digs out old letters Ted had sent, handwritten pages criticizing technology, complaining about academia, ranting about the system. Word for word, idea for idea, the style matches. David contacts an attorney, then an FBI informant. He passes on the letters, his suspicions, and what he knows about Ted's life. He asks for anonymity. The FBI can't let this tip slip. The trail leads straight back to a cabin in Montana. In April 1996, FBI agents arrive at Ted Kaczynski's cabin. They find him in his tiny, windowless hut. Piles of books lie everywhere. Wood shavings cover the floor. Homemade explosives sit on his workbench. Hidden in the cabin are bomb-making notes, journals, and an early draft of the Manifesto. He's arrested without resistance. The 17-year hunt is over. He faces over 33 charges, including murder, attempted murder, and the use of weapons of mass destruction. His defense claims he is mentally unstable. They point to his history of psychiatric treatment, his isolation, and his bizarre behavior. At one point, he fires his lawyers and tries to represent himself, insisting that only he can truly explain his ideas. Experts who later analyze his case note that he showed signs clustering more than one diagnosis. Some psychiatrists diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia. Others saw more of a schizoid personality disorder with paranoid and obsessive-compulsive traits. Crucially, many agreed that he was not simply evil. He was a man whose mind had become a self-reinforcing prison. The prosecution's case is overwhelming. Forensic evidence ties him to the bombs. His journals describe fantasies of killing. Manuscript drafts match the published Manifesto. The FBI has the letters his brother gave them, proof the bomber and the writer are the same person. In 1998, the government offers a deal. Ted will avoid the death penalty if he pleads guilty. He accepts. No death sentence. No dramatic courtroom showdown. He's sent to ADX Florence, the supermax prison they call the Alcatraz of the Rockies. He spends years in near-total isolation, communicating mostly through letters and legal filings. Even behind bars, he remains defiant. He continues to write about technology, civilization, and the system. He refuses to express remorse for the people he killed. In interviews, he calls the deaths unfortunate, but necessary sacrifices in the war he has waged. His family is left shattered. His brother David becomes an anti-violence activist, trying to use his story to warn others about the dangers of extremism. He talks about the warning signs he saw too late, the letters he once brushed off as eccentric, the anger he mistook for idealism. So what drove Ted Kaczynski? Was he a philosopher or a killer? He scorned modern society, but he also despised the people he claimed to defend. He hated the world, but he made no attempt to build a better one. His revolution was never about liberation. It was about revenge. Psychologists who have studied his life point to deep-rooted trauma, social failure, and untreated mental illness. The isolation, the humiliation at Harvard, the unfulfilled academic career, and his retreat into a self-made ideology all converged in one place, that cabin in Montana. For nearly 2 decades, he turned his cabin into a laboratory of death. He mixed philosophy with bombs. He romanticized the woods while mailing packages designed to kill. Today, some people still call him a prophet. Others call him a monster. But the truth is somewhere in between. A man who turned his mind into a weapon, who built a prison of ideas, and then hid behind the very words that exposed him. And here's the part that matters to you and your life. If you see someone who is becoming more isolated, who starts talking about destroying the entire system, who treats people as if they're just cogs, or who jokes about collateral damage in a war against the world. Don't just call them a weird guy. That's a red flag. Domestic extremist and radicalization research shows that isolation, paranoia, and a rigid ideology are common warning signs. If you notice several of the following in someone close to you: spending all their time online pushing a single us versus them narrative, rejecting therapy or any outside advice, treating violence as a normal or necessary tool, and cutting off friends and family, take that seriously. It's not a phase. It's a drift towards something dark. For someone who's drifting, sometimes the only thing that can pull them back is one consistent, patient, and non-judgmental human being. If a friend, a sibling, or a roommate starts talking like Ted K, but living in your living room, that's not just a personality quirk. It's an emergency for their mind. If you're worried, talk. Don't argue. Don't preach. Ask specific questions. What do you really want to happen? What would make you feel safe? And then connect them with a real professional, a therapist, a crisis line, a community mental health center. For families in the US, resources like NAMI, local hotlines, and apps like MoodPath can help you track changes in mood and thinking before they spiral. You don't need to fix them yourself. You just need to step in before the mind becomes a bunker. Because the real story is never just about the monster. It's about the child who never got the help he needed, and about the people who could have stepped in, but didn't know how. This is my maniac mind. If you're watching this, you're already one step ahead. You're thinking about the mind, not just the crime. We'll trace another mind that turned a quiet life into something dark, so you can see the warning signs before they turn into headlines. If someone in your life starts to sound like the echo of a lonely, angry, closed-off ideology, don't ignore it. Ask them how they feel. Stay close, stay patient, and if the pattern gets stronger, get a professional involved. You don't need to fix themselves. You're already one step ahead. You're thinking about the mind, not just the crime. Your next mind, signing off. You're already one step ahead. You're thinking about the mind, not just the crime.